I would like to now call to order the regular board meeting of June 16th, 2015. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. The Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Mr. Gutierrez. And our substitutes for this evening are Brianna Bendati for Jean Giovanni and Veronica Garcia for Paul Dale and David Kaur for Jan Geller.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Unless there are student life reports, there are none listed at this point, and as I see here, no college reports. Correct? Okay. Faculty council report, Ms. Bednarik, and I said that wrong.
It's okay.
Bednarik.
It'll get better.
Bednarik, it will get better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening,
I hope
President
so.
Livingston, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of CEC, and guests. As you all prepare for your summer breaks, I wanted to wish you well on any upcoming travels or vacations you have. As an educator, I know how essential these rests and rejuvenations are for the upcoming year that we have. I want to thank Mr. Heap and Mr. Burke for meeting with Robert and I over the last couple of weeks. We look forward to meeting with you, Mrs. Haver and Mrs. Livingston, this week, and then Mr. Gutierrez, Mrs. McGrath, and Mr. Starr in the weeks to come. We appreciate you all sharing your visions with us for our district. The Faculty Association will continue to work with district leadership this summer on issues that directly affect students and faculty, as well as issues that will benefit from faculty involvement. Across the district, faculty are working and participating in professional development activities, workshops, and focusing on improving instructional excellence. Our goal is to enhance curricula, enhance programs, and increase student success and retention. So we look forward to those reports when we come back for the academic year. And again, I wish you all well and safe travels. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you're going somewhere too.
No.
No? All right. That's just as good. Mr. Leo Valverde. Good evening, sir.
Evening.
Are you going anywhere? Just to the podium, I guess. But after that, no, nowhere?
After this, I'm going home,
Okay.
and then I have class in the morning. Fortunately, I have class in the morning. Madam President, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, assorted guests, family, and friends, my name's Leo Valverde. I'm president of the Adjunct Faculty Association. And seeing as this is our last meeting of the 2014-2015 academic year, I'd kind of consider this our wrap-up, our State of the Adjunct Faculty Association, and what we're looking forward to in the coming year. This was my first year as president, and I am very proud to be returning. And we've had a couple of very significant developments and movements for us that I think have really helped us all. And I'd just like to highlight a few for the board. In addition to creating a president-elect position to help in the transfer or the transfer of power, if you will, and the stability of the organization, we are also in the process of creating a website, which we will launch in the fall, which is a redesign. I've told you this before. And we're also launching our orientation in the fall. But in addition to that, there are two programs that I haven't spoken about before that I'm very, very proud of. The first one is the creation of an adjunct faculty committee at Chandler Gilbert, which is trying to recruit some of the adjunct faculty for increased planning, for professional development and activities for faculty, both residential and adjunct faculty at Chandler Gilbert, and working closely both with the faculty senate there, but also the administration, and we've received their blessing, and we hope that if it goes well, that this is a program that we can extend to other campuses, and this is just for increasing participation of our adjunct faculty and connecting them to the different institutions. Far too often our adjunct faculty just come in, they teach their courses, and they go home. And we want to find those that really want to become invested, not just in the institutions, but in the district as well. In addition to that, at Gateway, there is a wonderful program, the Adjunct Academy, which takes a small cohort of adjunct faculty. I believe it started with about 10. And it is a 2-semester program where they receive some intensive training on pedagogy, best practices, teaching skills that lasts 2 semesters. They then take that and are able to return some of those skills that they have learned in the classroom to other adjunct faculty, both at Gateway but also district-wide programming. We have had a lot of success there, and I'd specifically like to thank the CTL and John Lampignano there, and Dr. Lindsay DePold, who is the adjunct faculty representative at Gateway, who was really instrumental in spearheading this. There's been a lot of interest from other colleges about the program, and we think that this too could become a district-wide type program. And I believe we have some additional faculty from Phoenix College joining us the next year. Next year, when we come back, we have some more wonderful things, but I'll talk about those next year. I wish you all a very happy summer. Stay cool. Thank you very much.
Mr. Valverde, thank you very much for your State of the Union, and thank you very much for all you do and all the other adjunct faculty do every single day. You're very appreciated.
Thank you.
Moving on now to Citizens Interim. The board offers opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board. In compliance with the open meeting law, the governing board will neither discuss nor take action on issues raised during the portion of the agenda. When necessary, issues will be taken under advisement and placed on a subsequent agenda. At this time, I have been told we have no one for Citizens Interim, correct? Correct. Moving on to the Chancellor's report. Dr. Glasper.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I would just like to make one announcement. At the end of this month, on June 29th and 30th, I will be hosting the President and CEO of the Higher Learning Commission, and we will be conducting congressional visits here in the Valley and down in Tucson. Our focus is to follow up on the conversations that we had initiated while we were in Washington around the Higher Education Act and the potential discussion at the federal level regarding regional accreditation versus federal accreditation. So I will report back to the board after I've had an opportunity to do these congressional visits.
Very good. There are no employee group reports. And so now we move to the approval of the order of the agenda. Motion to approve. Somebody give me a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor of approving the order of the agenda? Aye. Opposed? It so passes. Consent agenda. Consideration of consent agenda action items. Does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? Aye. Opposed? Non-consent agenda. Consideration of non-consent action items. Chancellor Glasper, 14.1, approval of authorization of expenditure of legal fees.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'd like to defer to our legal counsel, Lee Combs, to present this item.
This is the item that we have discussed in executive session. I'm not at liberty to share the details of that discussion, but the board's been fully informed. These are fees for the next 6 months, the last half of this year, for the litigation side and the cybersecurity side of our data security issues.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, any comments or questions? The vote, please. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Business Services 15.1. This is the approval of conceptual approval for the new Cloud Song Center and Indigenous Scholars Institute at Scottsdale Community College. Ms. Thompson, would you care to comment?
Madam President, members of the board, this is one of our bond
2004 bond projects, and it's one of the major projects at Scottsdale Community College. There are two related components in the new building that's to be constructed, both instructional space, classrooms, general and specialized meeting spaces, as well as spaces that would relocate operations and services supporting business instruction and Native American students. And it does include about 5,000 square feet for an Indigenous Scholars Institute designed as an extension of the new Cloud Song Center, and that would respond to the college's strategic goal to increase enrollment of Native American students, advancing Native American scholarship, and serving as a cultural center, and we recommend its approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Thompson? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any other comments or questions? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And 15.2, Ms. Thompson, this is the approval of the conceptual approval for the classroom building at Chandler Gilbert Community College, Williams campus.
Madam President, members of the board, this also is part of our bond program, and it is construction of a new 14,000 square foot building located directly south of an existing facility. It'll include 4 general classrooms, 2 high connectivity classrooms, 2 engineering and applied technology labs, some faculty offices, conference room, and support spaces, and we recommend its approval.
Any comments or questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So,
Any other further comments or questions that you might have just thought of? Okay, vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, and so it passes. 15.3, approval of contract award for chiller number 2 replacement at Glendale Community College. Ms. Thompson, would you care to comment?
Madam President, members of the board, this is a chiller that has been repaired a number of times, and at this point, at 28 years old, it's at the end of its typical life and it needs replacement, so we're recommending its approval, or the approval of this item.
Okay, any comments or questions? Motion to approve? May I have one? Okay, and do I have a second? I don't need one, I suppose. Vote all in favor? I do need one. Thank you. And vote all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Thompson, the next one is 15.4, which is the approval of the contract award for a new monument signage at Mesa Community College. Would you like to comment?
Madam President, and members of the board, this item is also related to the next item. This item specifically is approval for contract award for new signage, a monument signage at Southern and Dobson, replacing the very old signage that's there, as well as 7 entry monuments at different entrances to the college, of which currently only 1 has signage. So this would add signage to 6 of the new entry points that don't have that, as well as replacing 1. And we recommend its approval.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Okay, vote all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And so it passes 6-1. 15.5, approval of job order contracting purchase order for new monument signage, preparation and related landscape improvements at Mesa Community College. Ms. Thompson.
Madam President,
you.
members of the board, this, as I had indicated in the last item, is related to the last item. It provides for landscaping around the new monument signage and other signage, as well as the sign bases for these signs, and we recommend its approval.
Any comments or questions about this, about 15.5?
Move approval.
Okay, thank you. Vote all in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 5-2. 15.6, approval of job order contracting purchase order for a new pedestrian pathway, Phase 1 at Maricopa Community College. Ms. Thompson, Mesa Community College. I can't read tonight, I suppose. Would you care to explain?
Madam President, members of the board, the district, on behalf of the college, has been working with the college to complete a new student enrollment center, and that's at the east end of the campus. This pedestrian pathway would be an essential linkage from that new enrollment center, which is the hub of enrollment for the college, into the center of the college, into westerly portions of the college. So we recommend its approval.
Right. Any comments or questions for Ms. Thompson? A motion to approve? Okay, thank you. Vote all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes 6-1. Just so the television audience does know, all of these things are duly discussed with the board in detail, and that's why I'm asking for comments or questions now, so we can ask anything further. So just so you know, we're fully briefed. The next item is the adoption of the budget for Gateway High School Charter School. And Ms. Thompson, would you care to comment, or we're going to go ahead and ask a high school principal to come forward at this time?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Look, you're not a number.
Good evening,
Good
Madam
evening.
President, members of the board, CEC, and Chancellor Glasper. Let me get this up here. I do apologize if this is a little repetitive, but we need to make sure the public's fully informed.
No, thank you.
The budget 15 versus is coming up year 16. Our enrollment will be going up. Our funding, our ADM, which is a combination of attendance as well as enrollment, will be going up as well. The state base funding has gone up a little bit there, an additional assistance per student. That additional assistance is the money that charter schools get because they do not have property taxes. So that's where that money comes from. And then Prop 301, which is the money that's used to pay teachers for student achievement. The overall state-based funding has gone up, additional assistance has gone up, and Prop 301 has gone up as well. All of our instructional programs and staff remained unchanged. It does go up, but again, that just basically covers increased costs because of inflation and things like bus passes and paper and just all of those normal daily costs. So that's it.
You were quick. I would like to ask the public to come forward at this time to present the board any questions or comments for the board and or the district staff to address. If there are no comments or questions from the public, board members, do you have any comments before we take a vote?
Yes.
Mr. Czar.
Sorry about that.
I really shouldn't have walked
Come on down.
The effect of the small schools question funding, small schools funding question, how do you see that affecting your ability to maintain this budget if that does change?
Well, right now it's being interpreted by the Arizona Department of Education differently than the legislative intent of that. And the legislators come out and said that, those exact words. This is not what we intended. The Attorney General has gotten involved, and hopefully the forms will be changed so that it doesn't affect us, because we should not be affected. We have less than 600 students combined. If that does not change, it has a real possibility of having a very large impact on us. For Gateway, that would be about $220,000.
And that would be effective in what fiscal year?
This year.
And how would you handle that without that additional money?
With difficulty, for sure. It's a lot of money. We're making plans right now. Currently, in the beginning of the school year, my plan is to live on what worst case scenario.
if this comes to fruition for the entire year, we will have to make either employee or programmatic cuts. And those decisions and plans are being made now, sort of weighing the costs and benefits of what we can and cannot do.
I know changing programs and staff in the middle of a school year is difficult on everybody, especially the kids.
Yes.
So we hope that they come together and make it right. But I'm glad to see that you're keeping the doors open in case they don't. Thank you.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? None? May I have a motion to approve?
So, second.
Second? Okay, all at once. Vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. The next item is the adoption of the budget for Phoenix College Charter, the Phoenix College Charter School. Ms. Thompson, I know you don't want to comment this evening. You want me to go directly to the principal. Hello, sir.
Hello. Madam President, board members, CEC members, Chancellor Glasper, thank you for the opportunity. Our presentation is very repetitive from the last one as well. The biggest thing in regards to our budget is we had 65 students 2 years ago. We now have actually 130. And our cap is at 100, which we're going to get increased in January. We're going for that. But basically, we're going to work on the worst case scenario budget. And we've only had to increase our budget by about 15%, even though we've had 100% increase in enrollment in the last 2 years. All of these base fundings, additional assistance and Prop 301, as Lisa mentioned, have gone up for Phoenix College Prep Academy as well. And we've just had a few increases in a few areas like transportation. When you have more students, you obviously increase your transportation budget and a few things like that. We've added a lunch program, but that's funded through a different source. And so basically we've been able to keep our budget, very slim in terms of going up by 15%, even though we've had a 100% increase.
Is that it, sir? Okay, thank you very much. Now I would like to again ask the public to come forward to present the board any questions or comments for the board or district staff to address. Any public comments? Right, if not, board members, do you have any comments or questions?
Madam President, I have a question. You said you've added food service. Are you doing that on your campus, or are you taking them onto the Phoenix College campus? How are you doing that?
We have a vendor that brings it to our campus.
Thank you.
Mr. Burke.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say for both of our charter school programs, they're doing great work. A significant number of those students are going into the community college, earning credits while they're there, and I'm proud of both these charter schools.
Absolutely. I wanted to say your increase in student enrollment is just fabulous. Congratulations. You are both doing great work. I mean, I still want to come to your school and just hang out with you. I'll come to yours too. But thank you very much for what you do. But back to business. Can I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Okay, vote all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, and so it passes 7-0. Information items, we go to Human Resources, 16.1, review of employments, regular, short-term, and specially funded. Ms. Shelton Johnson.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. Would you care to comment?
Thank you. Thank you, yes, and good evening, members of the board. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the month of May 1st through May 31st, we had a total of 25 new hires. Majority of those positions were regular. A handful, approximately 6, were special funded or short-term.
Thank you. Any comments or questions about this? Okay. 16.2, review of separations. Ms. Shelton Johnson, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. For that same time period, the month of May, we had a total of 39 separations. The majority of those, approximately half, were due to retirements.
Okay, very good. Any comments or questions from the board? None? All right. Monitoring reports, Ms. Shelton Johnson, thank you very much. Business Services, 17.1, Budget Analysis Report, Fund 1, General Unrestricted Fund for the 11 months ending May 31st, 2015. Ms. Thompson.
Madam President, members of the board, this is the report we provide monthly. It is for the general fund, which is our main operating fund, and it compares the adopted budget to the actuals that are occurring both in revenues and expenditures, and it also compares the period to date to prior years. In terms of prior years, we're very consistent with prior year periods, which is expected in terms of expenditures because most of our expenditures are for personnel and payroll is every 2 weeks, so it's a very regular pattern. You've heard me say this many times before. There's also a pattern with revenues in terms of collections for property taxes, our main revenue source, being at its peak in October and November, and then again in April and May. We're nearly through the fiscal year, just one more month to go. Our projections or our actuals are on target with our budget that was adopted, and we're expecting a slight increase in fund balance for the year.
Any comments or questions from the board? None? Community linkage. We're going to go to governing board reports and start with Mr. Burke.
The only activity was the Audit and Finance Committee, which Mr. Heap and I attended. Our heads are swimming with dollar signs and things, but it was a good meeting. We have 2 new board members. Unfortunately, we lost 2 board members, both of whom died recently. And so we have 2 new board members, both of whom have backgrounds in the State Auditor General's office.
Very good. Very good. Mr. Gutierrez.
I have no report.
No report. I'm still back on numbers swimming. Ms. Haver.
Yes, I would like to make a little bit of a report. On the 28th and the 29th, I attended, along with 2 other board members, the Southwest Pathways Conference, and this was very meaningful, in my opinion. We started off with a speech from Governor Ducey, and we heard from ASU President Jim Crow and from our own Dr. Glasper, as well as a representative from Colorado, and they were all so much in agreement. And the agreement was that we have got to figure out a way to bring more students who seem to be out there lost, who many haven't even graduated from high school and don't intend to, or just looking for jobs but do not have the skills for their jobs, whereas at the same time we have millions of job openings. And so to have brought all these people together, and many of them were nonprofits that were working with these groups and telling about their experiences, it was quite enlightening. It gave me hope that this problem is something that we can resolve if we all work together. The other activity that was very meaningful to me was the ethics training that 4 of us were present to receive. We cannot be reminded enough of how important it is to, when we go out to the public, to be truthful, to be honest, and to represent the Maricopa colleges in a most respectful way. I was sad that more weren't there, but I believe there probably will be a follow-up, and I urge those who missed that training to be sure to attend, and I hope this will be something that we can participate in every year, because I consider it of a very high value.
Thank you, Ms. Haver. Mr. Heap.
I'd like to thank everyone for a great introduction from the last 5 months to the board, and looking forward to next year. And thank you, overwhelming thank you to all the presidents and staff. So I'll just say thank you again. Another thought to add is the Audit and Finance my compliments to the Audit and Finance Board. And because not only does it do they give us great numbers, but also gives us auditing purpose, not only just numbers. And numbers and purpose all come together. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heap. Mrs. McGrath, a report?
I have no report, Madam President.
Thank you, Mrs. McGrath. Mr. Sarr?
Just the fact that our association with the Hope Charter School has had several meetings in the last month with community members and others interested in the students that we target in this charter school. We hope to open up our doors to students a year from this August, and construction hopefully will take place over the course of the next 12 months.
Thank you. I just, from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to thank everyone that starts at the chancellor, to the vice chancellors, to the college presidents, to faculty, meaning the teachers first, and everyone else that has really made me feel welcome, to every board member here that has held my hand through this transition period and allowed me to be me, and which might not be the characteristic of what you might see on an average board, but then I'm not your average board member. And I just would like to thank you for embracing that and embracing the thought that I truly value everything that everyone I've come across with in Maricopa does every single day. It makes sitting here and watching all of this and hearing all about it in emails and such and advertising is so meaningful. And I do say every day to my students, they are going to college and they are going to Maricopa. Now, of course, I have to say it tongue-in-cheek, but I've persuaded quite a few this year, so you never know. Hopefully one of them will stand here. I don't think so. Not right yet. They're just freshmen. So I just want to thank everybody. You've been really great. Thank you very much. And our work has only just begun, and I look forward to more. No Vice Chancellor reports I'm seeing here, and external community reports on 20.1, 20.2, and 20.3. First would be Mr. Burke, the AADGB.
Yes, the Arizona Association of District Governing Board Members meet in July.
Okay. Well, you'll report on that next time. Okay. The Association of School Boards, Mr. Sarr?
They're currently up in Flagstaff, or just coming back from Flagstaff for the summer workshop. And
Lucky them.
We will get the results of some of those discussions over the next month.
Okay. How about the Association of Community College Trustees? Are they in Flagstaff too?
No.
No.
The board is going to Michigan for their summer retreat this year, and we're looking forward to our Congress again in October. That will be in San Diego this year.
Very good. The next meeting dates and times: August 3rd, 2015, 8 a.m. Budget and Finance Committee retreat. August 11th, 2015. Why am I saying the year? Budget Board Policy Committee meeting. August 11th, Agenda Review. August 11th, Board Retreat at 7 p.m. August 25th, our next Board Budget and Finance Committee. And August 25th, our regular board meeting, obviously here in the governing boardroom. Remember, there are no board meetings in July. And our next regular board meeting, there are no board meetings in July. And with that, I adjourn the regular board meeting of June 16th, 2015. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.